And I said, no, I need it. I really need it tonight.
He's not the kind of man to explode or hold public grudges, but trust this, Mel Brooks never forgets. He's the wild mastermind who turned chaos into pure gold for more than 60 years. The creative storm behind Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. Mel didn't just make people laugh, he made them feel. Every laugh he pulled out of an audience came from a man who controlled every second of madness behind the camera. This wasn't some laid-back jokester running the show. Brooks ran his sets like a tight ship with sharp precision, timing, and iron discipline. Through his wild ride in Hollywood, he crossed paths with every kind of actor you can imagine. The geniuses who lit up the room, the unpredictable ones who couldn't follow direction, and the big ego stars who thought they were bigger than the movie itself. And that's when Mel's quiet wrath kicked in. Once you made it onto his secret mental blacklist, that was it. You were done. He didn't yell or slam doors, he didn't need to. He'd just go stone cold silent and wipe you right out of his story like you never existed. From the producers to Spaceballs, every movie carried that message. Mel Brooks didn't just create comedy, he controlled the narrative. He could make you a legend, or erase you completely, without saying a single word. But now, after a lifetime of keeping things bottled up, Mel Brooks is finally ready to spill it all. He's breaking his silence about betrayals, on-set chaos, and those unforgettable moments when everything almost fell apart. 5 actors, each incredibly talented, each unforgettable, but remembered by Mel for all the wrong reasons. And for the first time ever, he's naming names. Which faces made Mel Brooks swear, "Never again"? Who were the stars too talented to ignore, but too proud to handle? Stay locked in, because what you're about to hear might flip everything you thought you knew about Hollywood's most adored legends. Number 1, Gene Wilder. Some heartbreaks come from rivals, but Mel's deepest cut came from someone he loved like family. Gene Wilder wasn't just an actor, he was Mel's creative mirror, his partner in madness, the spark to his fire. Together, they didn't just make comedies, they reinvented what comedy could be. The producers, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, each one wasn't just a success, it was a revolution that shook the industry. But right after Young Frankenstein, something cracked beneath the surface. Gene had poured his heart into writing most of the script, while Mel shaped it, directed it, and fought like crazy to keep it in black and white. The result? Pure cinematic lightning, a timeless masterpiece. But behind the laughs and praise, a silent tension had started brewing, the kind of fracture that no one noticed until it was too late. Gene Wilder had another fire burning inside him, his own story to tell, a bold idea called The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes's Smarter Brother. He wrote it, he wanted to direct it, and he wanted Mel Brooks to stand beside him as producer. But Mel said no, not because the script wasn't funny, not because it lacked spark, but because, as Mel later admitted, Gene thought he was ready. I knew he wasn't. That one sentence cut deep. Wilder took that no as a betrayal. He expected Mel's support, not a step back. But instead of encouragement, Brooks gave him distance, and that distance quickly turned into silence. Wilder pushed forward on his own, determined to prove himself. He gathered a familiar crew, Marty Feldman, Madeline Kahn, the same brilliant faces who had once brought Mel's wildest worlds to life. But something was off this time. The rhythm was gone, the energy dimmed, the magic that connected them had faded. For 4 long years, Brooks and Wilder didn't exchange a single word. No public feud, no shouting matches, just a quiet separation between 2 men who once finished each other's sentences. Mel reportedly told a close friend, "It was like watching your brother pack up and leave home, except he took your best joke with him." That pain lingered longer than either expected. Years later, fate stepped in. The 2 men ran into each other by accident at an event neither planned to attend. No big speeches, no dramatic apologies, just 2 old friends standing in the same room, maybe remembering how good the laughter once felt. They shook hands, shared a couple of soft jokes, and for a fleeting moment, it almost felt like old times again. But underneath the smiles, a small crack remained. They never worked together after that, not because of anger, but because of something colder, quiet disappointment. Brooks once confessed that Gene Wilder was the only actor he ever truly trusted. Mel could hand him a half-finished idea, a scene without a punchline, and Gene would instantly know how to complete it, as if he could read Mel's thoughts. But after Smarter Brother, that deep creative bond was gone for good. Wilder had stepped outside the sacred circle, and Mel Brooks, for all his humor and warmth, never allowed anyone to step out twice. In public, they stayed respectful, even affectionate. But in Mel's private world, one held together by rhythm, instinct, and unshakable loyalty, Jean was the one who broke the thread. Not out of cruelty, but enough to leave a scar. Because sometimes the person who knows you best knows exactly where to pull. Number 2. Frank Langella. Some actors lose a part, but Langella lost the director himself. On paper, he was perfect. Brooks was crafting Dracula, dead and loving it, and Langella had already conquered Broadway as the seductive vampire. Tall, magnetic, theatrical. He was Dracula, but that was the problem. He was the serious version, the kind that brooded, not the kind that made people laugh. Mel Brooks wasn't out to make something gloomy or poetic. He wasn't chasing gothic tragedy or candlelit monologues dripping with sorrow. He wanted chaos, pure and electric. He wanted pratfalls, wild timing, and gags that hit like thunder. His Dracula wasn't supposed to brood in the shadows. He was supposed to slip on them. A vampire who could deliver a dramatic speech 1 minute and tumble over a coffin lid the next. That was the Mel Brooks touch. But Frank Langella walked into pre-production like he was stepping onto the stage for Hamlet. From day one, the vibe was off. Rehearsals dragged where they should have danced. Mel, who normally ran his sets like a high-energy circus, found himself slowing down just to keep up with Langella's heavy presence. Frank didn't laugh at the jokes, didn't riff or improvise. He recited every line like it was carved into stone. His delivery was flawless, but lifeless. Brooks later confided to a friend, he wasn't playing Dracula, he was playing a saint. Mel tried everything, notes, pep talks, gentle nudges to loosen him up, but nothing broke through. Langella would nod, smile politely, then slip right back into that same marble statue routine. The tension behind the scenes grew thicker by the day. Brooks needed energy, rhythm, movement, but Langella brought only weight. Scenes that were supposed to fly started collapsing under the pressure of his seriousness. Even the rest of the cast, seasoned comics and character actors, began second-guessing themselves. Crew members whispered nervously between takes, "Is this a comedy or an opera?" The confusion spread until finally the breaking point arrived. During a test read, Mel handed Langella a brand new line, a classic Brooks twist, dramatic in setup, ridiculous in punchline. Langella blinked, paused, and asked, completely serious, "Do you want me to mock the text?" Brooks stared for a long moment, then calmly replied, "No, I want you to survive it." That was it, the final straw. By the end of the week, Langella was gone. No yelling, no press statement, no scandal, just a quiet change. Enter Leslie Nielsen, a completely different kind of Dracula. A man who could play it straight while chaos exploded around him, keeping a straight face as the world turned absurd. That was what Mel Brooks wanted. Not weight, not tragedy, but control. And Nielsen nailed it. Officially, they called it creative differences, but everyone close to the project knew what really happened. Mel Brooks wasn't about to wrestle a Shakespearean statue into doing slapstick. He needed someone who got the rhythm of his madness, who understood the joke before the punchline even landed. Langella never did, and that was the end of it. He left quietly and never mentioned the film again. Brooks, ever the professional, never trashed him publicly, but every time Dracula, dead and loving. It came up in interviews, Mel would just smile and say one word about Nielsen. Perfect. Langella's name never entered the chat, because in Mel Brooks' universe, there were only two types of actors, those who elevated the madness and those who got swallowed by it. Langella walked in wearing an invisible crown, but Mel Brooks wasn't out here building royalty, he was building chaos. In Mel's world, you had to love the fall, not fear it. And that's why Frank didn't last. He couldn't laugh while falling. Number 3, Chevy Chase. Mel Brooks had a radar for energy. He could sense it before a single line was spoken. He didn't need an audition or a table read. He could feel whether someone belonged in his world. And when it came to Chevy Chase, every instinct screamed, no. The two never worked together, not once, and that was no accident. It wasn't bad timing, it was by design. Throughout the 1980s and early 90s, Chevy's name came up over and over again. Studio execs practically begged Mel to give him a shot. Chase was Hollywood gold, a superstar, the face of American comedy, armed with a razor-sharp wit and that trademark deadpan style. But every single time, Mel Brooks shut it down instantly. No hesitation, no meeting, just a calm, confident no, because Mel didn't cast fame. He cast rhythm, he cast trust. He cast people who could dive headfirst into madness and somehow keep it steady. And deep down, Mel knew Chevy could never fit that rhythm. Why? Because Chevy broke the first rule of Brooks' universe. He didn't play well with others. Mel had heard the stories long before collaboration was even on the table. The whispers on set, the talk show moments, the warnings from friends. They all painted the same picture. Chevy was quick, witty, and dangerously funny, but his fire burned cold. He could walk into a room and light it up, then drain the energy right out of it seconds later. Brooks reportedly told one casting director, "He's not acting, he's just waiting for everyone else to stop talking so he can prove he's the smartest in the room." But Mel didn't want the smartest man in the room, he wanted the most generous. Someone who could land the punchline but still leave space for others to shine. That wasn't Chevy. The closest they ever got to working together came during casting for Spaceballs. Chase's name popped up for the role of Dark Helmet. On paper, he fit, dry tone, deadpan face, that perfect rhythm for absurdity. But Mel didn't even entertain it for long. He wanted Rick Moranis. When asked why, Mel simply said, "Rick knows when to step back. Chevy only knows how to interrupt." That summed it up perfectly. For Mel Brooks, chemistry mattered more than fame or credits. Timing was sacred. Ego was not. Privately, he once described Chevy as someone who crashed comedy instead of dancing with it. Mel respected the talent, admired the instinct, even laughed at the wit, but he couldn't stand the way it came wrapped in distance, always smirking, always detached. To Mel, comedy wasn't about irony. It was about belief. No matter how wild the joke was, you had to commit. You had to live in it and mean every second of the madness. Chevy didn't. He stood outside of it, too aware, too calculated. There was one meeting between them. Short, polite, instantly forgettable. They talked for a few minutes, both knowing nothing would come of it. It ended with Mel flashing that sly grin and saying, "Maybe in another universe." That was the last time they ever crossed paths professionally. Chevy Chase never made it into Mel Brooks' universe. Years later, Brooks was asked in an interview about difficult actors. He smiled, careful with his words, and said, "Some actors are so self-aware they forget to be present. You can see them thinking about themselves while they're supposed to be in the scene." The host asked if he meant Chevy Chase. Mel just smiled wider and said nothing. Mel Brooks never cared about chasing trophies. He cared about the team. For him, it was always about the ensemble, the balance, the flow, the trust. Timing wasn't just part of his craft, it was sacred. And that's why Chevy Chase wasn't banned or blacklisted. He was simply left out. Not because he wasn't funny, he absolutely was, but because he didn't fit. In Mel Brooks' world, misfits were welcome. He adored oddballs, wild cards, and dreamers, as long as they could keep up with the rhythm of his chaos. But ego pretending to be confidence, that stayed at the door. Number 4, Harvey Korman. On screen, Harvey Korman was gold. Mel trusted him with some of the biggest laughs of his career, and Harvey delivered every single one. Blazing Saddles, High Anxiety, History of the World. Part 1. Korman was the king of controlled absurdity. He could hold a ridiculous face just long enough to make an audience explode with laughter, then drop it in perfect deadpan precision. But behind that brilliance, something was brewing, a tension Mel rarely talked about. Korman came from The Carol Burnett Show, a comedy playground where creativity ruled. He was used to freedom, loose scripts, wild improv, and rooms that bent to his instincts. But Mel's sets didn't bend. They were symphonies, every beat planned, every pause calculated, every line part of a larger rhythm. And when someone drifted off beat, the whole piece could collapse. For all his genius, Harvey drifted, often, and that drift started to test Mel's patience. Their biggest clash? High Anxiety. Brooks cast him as Dr. Montague, the pompous, sinister head of the Psychoneurotic Institute for the very, very nervous. It was the kind of role only Harvey could own, but he wanted to reinvent it. New quirks, new lines, even whole rewrites. Mel shut it down fast. "We already wrote the funny part," he told him. "We just need you to do it." That line hit hard. Harvey didn't take it well, and the air on set started to tighten. He began second-guessing scenes, pausing between takes, questioning camera angles, and blocking. Every day, the rhythm slowed a little more. Normally, Mel was the life of his own circus, cracking jokes, teasing the cast, keeping the vibe alive. But now, he went quiet. Conversations got shorter. Directions came with clipped precision. What should have been a fun, chaotic shoot turned into a low-key standoff. Crew members later called it passive warfare. No yelling, no explosions, just constant tension hiding behind polite smiles. Midway through filming, Mel confided to a producer, "Harvey wants to be the director, but I already have that job." That said it all. By the final week, the two were barely speaking. Mel gave notes through his assistant. Harvey stayed off to the side, locked in his own world. Between takes, the energy that once made Blazing Saddles sing had turned stiff and cold. The rhythm? Gone. The laughter? Forced. The trust? Quietly broken. Still, when the cameras rolled, Harvey Korman was untouchable. His timing was razor sharp, his delivery flawless. You'd never know a storm was raging off camera. The performance worked. It killed. But Mel Brooks never forgot what it took to get there. After High Anxiety, Harvey's name quietly disappeared from future Brooks projects, not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. Years later, Mel explained it with his usual honesty. "Some actors bring joy to a set," he said. "Harvey brought brilliance, but it always came with resistance. And in Mel's world, brilliance that fought the rhythm was brilliance that burned too hot to hold. There was no big fallout between them, no angry headlines, no dramatic goodbye, just a quiet understanding that the magic had run its course." Harvey Korman stayed proud of the work they created together and continued to speak kindly about Mel for years. And Mel, to his credit, never once denied how much Harvey had contributed to some of his greatest films. But the partnership was over. The rhythm was broken. And for Mel Brooks, rhythm was everything. He could handle madness, no problem. He could deal with divas, weird geniuses, and full-blown chaos wrapped in a costume. But when collaboration turned into competition, when the joy of creating started to feel like combat, that's where he drew the line. He didn't care about ego or power. He cared about the laugh. And when that laugh started costing more than it was worth, Mel didn't fight it. He walked away. Number 5, Jerry Lewis. Mel Brooks admired genius, but he had zero patience for arrogance. And with Jerry Lewis, he saw one buried inside the other. Both men were legends, architects of comedy who built entire worlds of beautiful chaos. They didn't just perform, they designed universes where madness made perfect sense. Each wrote, directed, and starred in their own visions. For years, studios dreamed of putting them together, two titans of laughter under one roof. But it never happened, and that was no accident. Privately, Mel described Jerry Lewis as brilliant and exhausting. He respected the nutty professor, he respected the legacy, the creativity, the obsessive attention to timing, but not the man behind it. Because for Mel, genius was only worth it if it came with generosity. And Jerry didn't always bring that to the table. The breaking point came in the mid-1980s, during early casting talks for Life Stinks, Brooks' dark satire about a billionaire forced to live on the streets. Someone from the studio floated a wild idea. What about Jerry Lewis for the lead? On paper, it sounded like a comedy dream. 2 legends, 1 movie. But to Mel, it sounded like a nightmare waiting to explode. The studio pushed even harder, later suggesting Lewis for a major supporting role, hoping his name would add prestige and a touch of brilliance. But Mel wasn't buying it. He reportedly told his producer, "I don't need someone who thinks he's funnier than the film." That one sentence said it all. Mel knew Lewis's reputation, rewriting lines mid-scene, taking over direction, and sucking every ounce of oxygen out of the room. That might have worked on his own sets, but not on Mel's. Brooks didn't share control. Not ever. Not in the edit bay. Not during rehearsal. Not even at lunch. Eventually, a mutual friend decided to play peacemaker and set up a dinner between them, hoping that maybe, just maybe, sparks could turn into synergy. Mel agreed, curious but cautious. Jerry showed up late, then launched straight into a 15-minute speech about the evolution of American comedy. He barely looked at Mel across the table. Brooks sat quietly, waiting for a flicker of connection, a moment of collaboration, a spark of mutual respect, but it never came. When Jerry finally paused for breath, Mel smiled politely, excused himself before dessert, and left the restaurant without a single ounce of regret. After that dinner, the idea was dead. Mel Brooks never brought it up again. Later, he explained it simply. He didn't want to collaborate. He wanted applause. And that was that. Publicly, both men stayed polite. no name-calling, no feuds. But behind the scenes, everyone knew there was no warmth, no real respect, and definitely no sense of a lost partnership. It was just quiet dismissal from both sides. Brooks once joked, "When it comes to comedians, I don't cast the ones who think they're the center of the universe. I already have a son." That line summed him up perfectly. Mel Brooks didn't build kingdoms. He built ensembles. He created ordered chaos, worlds where madness had rhythm and where ego served the joke, not the other way around. He loved stars who could shine, but only if they understood that the whole galaxy didn't revolve around them. Jerry Lewis couldn't fit that orbit. His ego burned too hot, too self-contained. Brooks saw it immediately. Working with Jerry, he said privately, would have been nuclear, not because of the talent, but because of everything else. The rewrites, the tension, the constant tug-of-war for control. It would have been too loud, too much, too late. There was never a single meltdown, never a shouting match, not even a real offer. Just Mel Brooks, quietly deciding that some doors shouldn't be opened. Even geniuses, in his eyes, could exile themselves when they started confusing a film set with a mirror of their own ego. And that was Mel's power. He didn't need to raise his voice or make a scene. He just closed the door, quietly, permanently. Because in Brooks' universe, being cut from a project wasn't just losing a job, it meant being erased from the story altogether. He didn't blacklist people for failing. He moved on from those who couldn't listen, who didn't trust the rhythm, who forgot that comedy is a team sport. Some actors missed out because they weren't funny enough, but these five, they were all brilliant. What they lacked wasn't skill. It was trust, timing, humility, or simply the ability to read the room they were standing in. And with Mel Brooks, once the rhythm broke, once the laughter turned strained, there was no coming back. He didn't need to fire you with a speech or a tantrum. He'd just stop calling. You weren't just replaced, you were erased. So now the question's on you. Who do you think almost ended up on Mel Brooks' hidden blacklist? Or maybe should have? Drop your guesses in the comments below. And if you want early access to the next episode of Hollywood's Hidden Blacklist, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell and join the channel for exclusive members-only deep dives. Because in Mel Brooks' world, getting cast wasn't the victory, staying cast was. See you in the next video.